Happy New Year and welcome back to Amy Hart's Mums Club, the podcast where I journey through the highs and lows of parenting alongside a gaggle of fabulous guests. Don't forget to check out my social medias at Amy Hart XO. It's my personal Instagram and at Amy Hart on TikTok, and the podcast is at Amy Hart's Mums Club on Instagram and TikTok. Now, this year, I'm going to finally hit my goal of 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm at 11.5 at the moment. And I thought, what better way to start the year than having one of the OG YouTubers with me, Jim Chapman. He's one of the OG, was it Brick Pack?
Well, people still call it the Brick Crew.
Brick Crew, that was it.
Yeah.
I was thinking the Wolf Pack. The Brick Crew, and he's also got two wonderful children, Margot, who's 4, and Jessie, who's 2. So welcome to the podcast,
Thank you
Jim.
very much. Thank you. YouTube's a much harder thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, like, this thing is so different to when you guys were on it.
So different. I think when we first started, it was innocent and it was adventure. Now it's like a media tool. It's like it's not always, entertainment is totally valid, but it can also be, it's about intensity and extremity, and that's not really what I do.
No.
So I post really infrequently. I actually hadn't posted for about 2 years, and then we've moved house and we're renovating. So every once in a while, I'll do like an update on how the house is going, because that kind of suits longer form content.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm mostly on like the shorter one. I'm mostly on Instagram because it is, the juice is worth the squeeze there.
Yeah. I think as well, like for you guys that were the Brick Crew, people love you so much that like it's not like you're looking for. The audience is not like, right, okay, I've got to post every single week.
Right.
I've got to post 3 times a week. People are like waiting, and then like when you or like Zoe
well,
post a video, it's like, oh my God, they've posted!
You say that though, but I had some time off when we had the kids.
Yeah.
And I thought that. I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I'll go back to it and everything will be fine. People just forgot all about me. It was really humbling. I had probably like 18 months off because we had Margot, and then Jessie was 22 months later. And I'd just sort of gone back to it. But then when Jessie was born, he had reflux. And so we're just sort of down tools because he was really, really poorly. And so really in total, it was probably about like 18 months spread across a couple of years. And everything went woof. And I expected just to go back to work and everything would be fine. I had to like take on a new team. I had to get PR back on board. Like I really needed help to like amplify and boost again. Yeah, it kicked my ass.
That's a good lesson. Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll cancel that maternity leave that I'd planned. There's me thinking I could have a bit of maternity leave this time.
No, absolutely do it.
No.
For sure. Yeah.
I love it. But I think what people want to see is your real life, isn't it? And like what's realer than just after you had a baby.
I mean, particularly for someone like me, because my audience have been there so long and it has been my life. They've seen me go from like a 21, 22-year-old to now I'll be 38 by the time the year's over. I've got 2 kids. I've moved out of London. I've done some really cool things. But usually they care much more about me than the thing, if that makes sense. So it's usually my content is usually me just sort of living my life and sharing how that goes. And I made the mistake actually of falling into sort of that content creator influencer gap where it's like, hi, here's 5 ways to wear a shirt. And I didn't love doing it. And also I think that actually my audience didn't really necessarily need that from me. I can still be stylish. I still write for The Telegraph. I used to write for GQ. I can still do like lots of fashiony bits, but incorporate it into my daily life. So actually my content now is very much mini daily vlogs.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I sort of need to get onto. And I think it's an easy way as well, isn't it? Just to sort of share your life and give people sort of an insight in.
Right.
Obviously you have got 2 children now.
Yeah.
How have you decided sort of where the line is for them with content?
What I've always said is this, my job is kind of my life, right? But it's not my children's life. So if it is relevant for my children to sort of like exist in whatever I'm doing, then fine. But what I'm not going to do is make my children perform for social media. Do you know what I mean? There's kind of a distinction there. And it's a fairly fine line. And it's something me and Sarah my wife come back to a lot to sort of re-establish. And now Margot's getting older. She's going to start school soon. And we think that we're probably just going to take her off entirely. At the moment, they're so little, they are usually wherever me or Sarah is if they're not in nursery or preschool. So by default, they sort of appear in stuff. But if you watch my content, you'll see that they are in things, but they are not the focus.
No.
And so they are essentially an element of my existence in my life. And also, I worry that it is a lot of pressure on them if they feel that they need to perform for daddy's job. It's also a lot of pressure on me to make sure my children are ready to be that. And I don't want that pressure on either of us. I certainly don't. I think we're like, this is sort of the first generation where children will be born famous. right? And I don't know what that's going to do. This didn't happen to me until I was in my 20s, and even then it was like a slower progress. And I've worked really hard, and I've learned to control my ego. How can you tell a child that? Mm-hmm. And so I have real concerns about what that's going to do for children in general who are sort of born into social media. So I'm conscious of not having them like be the crux of my content, if that makes sense.
Stanley's only 2, and on our recent holiday I left my vlogging camera on the bed, and he picked it up. I've got that DJI one, so you like flip the screen round, presses the red button, and I've got the video. He's like, "Hi, my name is Stanley, and I am here on the boat with Nanny and Mummy. Cute. Daddy and Grandad aren't here, but we will have some fun." And I was like, "Oh my God." And Sam was like, "He's so good on camera." I was like, "I know, but it's got to be his choice." He can't decide.
Yeah, that is the other thing as well. Like, if my kids get older and they want to do it, then of course, you know, I have all the access. You know, I can open doors for them. But I want them to. I'm really hoping that by the time they're old enough to sort of make these decisions, they won't think I'm cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, "Oh, Dad, come on, you're old," and it's like no one cares about that anymore. Meaning that it's more of a level playing field then, so they can make a decision based on what they actually enjoy rather than Daddy's success. But yeah, no, I mean, my kids are gorgeous, and they are, because they're so used to being around cameras, even if they're not on it, they see me do it. They have that sort of natural curiosity, and they are, whenever we FaceTime my mum, because she lives miles away, they both sort of just brighten up a little bit. Yeah. You know, they've kind of got that little thing.
That's the thing is, I think like all kids, like whether or not your parents are in social media, like with FaceTime and stuff and TikTok, and so they do.
Screens are our lives now, right? You can't not. I mean, and also it means that they have a relationship with my mum, the nan, right? So we don't get to see my family very often because it's a 4-hour drive, and so we do it quite rarely. But we talk to my mum most days. So, and when we visited last, it was like no time had passed, no distance was between them. It was just pure love. If I didn't do that phone call, that FaceTime 4 or 5 times a week, they wouldn't have that familiarity, right? So screens are really important to our lives now. There is an issue when it becomes kind of like your crux as opposed to your method of communication and like a tool for entertainment, right?
I think as well with our careers, obviously yours a lot longer and more established than mine, but our career was our career before we had children. Right. Whereas I feel like there's a lot of like sort of American channels where their whole career is they're like, "Oh, I've got loads of kids. I can make loads of money off of this."
For sure.
And there's one family that I used to watch on YouTube, and I used to love watching them. And then I sort of started to be a bit like, I'm not sure about this. And then I sort of like was looking, and if you type in sort of like emergency room on their channel, there's like 54 videos of their kids in A&E, and it's like one of their kids like gashed their leg open on a boat, and the first thing they think to do
get the camera out.
Is get the camera out before they call the ambulance, and they've got someone calling the ambulance on the video, and you're like, why is this content?
Right.
And one of their little boys had really bad concussion, didn't know who his dad was, and they like in the caption emotional, and they're like filming the little boy not knowing who the dad was. I feel like when Stanley was born, I sort of set a bit of a boundary of, unless it's something that's going to really raise awareness and help other people, no sort of medical stuff on there. And anything that if my husband filmed me doing it and put it on his Instagram story, would I be annoyed?
Yeah, I totally hear you.
So it's like, if I was crying about something and Sam was like, "Wait, look,
crying," 100%.
Like, that's not going on there.
So Margot gets asthma, and so we've been in and out of hospital plenty of times. I think actually she's looking much better now. As she's getting bigger, she's getting more robust. But we've been into A&E for her chest about what must be 4 or 5 times, and they keep her in overnight and they put her on oxygen, and it's like a whole thing. And I only ever once documented it, but it was only after the fact, and only because it was the first time it happened, and I was so shaken up by it. And I made content. Margot wasn't even in the content. No. I just said, "Here's what's happened. Thanks to the NHS for looking after, and also here are the signs to look out for, because we almost missed it." And so it was very much a lesson learned, as opposed to, "Hi, my kid's sick," and getting the camera out, because I just think it's atrocious, and it's you where are your priorities? If that's what you're doing, it just blows my mind that we're in the point on social media where now people will prioritize the content over safety.
And that same family, it's like making their kids reveal what their names were before they were adopted, and like having the period talk and stuff.
Right.
And because they know that gets loads of views from like weird people.
But at what cost?
Exactly. These kids got to go to school.
Here's the thing I always think about social media as well, is that the good is never good enough. Last month, I had my biggest month for a long time in terms of like traffic and views.
Yeah.
And I hit a certain number. I was like, yeah, that's great. Well done. Now I'm like, how do I make sure I do that again? Because the good is never like so good that you go, I've done it, finished now. Yeah. That's that job done. But the bad sucks. Mm-hmm. I post a single thing and it doesn't do very well, and I'll be thinking about it all day, going, why did that not perform? What can I do differently? And you end up, it is the extremity between the good and the bad are so vastly different doing this job. And listen, we have the best job in the world, don't get me wrong, but it can, if you take it home with you, it can really affect your state of mind and your sense of self. And if you throw kids into that as well, and suddenly you're making them perform, you're chasing it just to see more numbers for the sake of more numbers.
But obviously we're both probably on our phones a lot from doing the job that we do and having the kids around and stuff. How do you deal with screen time?
I like to think we're pretty good. We're not like anti-screen. I think that, again, FaceTime my mum, for example, but also like it can be a valid source of entertainment. What we are doing at the moment is trying to find low stimulating shows.
It's so boring though.
It's so boring.
So boring.
But we have certainly noticed that if they watch the high stimulating, like the colourful, the bright, the really fast paced things, it does affect if we then take the screen off them, you get tantrums. Whereas if they're watching the lower stimulating stuff, like Gruffalo, we love, and Zog.
The Julia Donaldson ones are amazing.
Brilliant.
But I'm talking about, there are some other ones that get recommended on the list that I put on.
But we're much better then at taking those off. So they both have iPads, and the iPads are only for use in the back of the car, so when we're driving. And then Margot gets hers for that half an hour when Jessie's gone to bed. So Margot goes to bed half an hour after. She can have that sort of quiet time where she's just winding down with her iPad there. Otherwise, we have like the TV on in the morning, weirdly, which might sound counterproductive, but it's so much easier to have the TV on in the morning when you've got the kids and you're getting them ready for nursery and preschool, because they're really like malleable.
Yeah.
Because they're watching the screen. They're just sort of there, like, it's easier to sort of shove food in their face and then go, right, I need to get your jumper on. So you can just hold an arm and put a sleeve on it. Because they're sort of so transfixed. Whereas because we tried both ways, if there's nothing on, they're running around in different rooms, they're going up and down stairs, you have to like wrangle them. Bearing in mind, Sarah and I have just woken up and we're tired as well, and we just like tensions get high. So actually, sometimes having that TV on means that you know where your kids are, and so you can do things like get them ready for school, or for example do the laundry, because you know that they're not going to go anywhere for a minute. So I think in modern parenting, where it's not like it used to be in the 50s.
Then I think you say modern parenting, but we all grew up with telly, and I know it wasn't like as stimulating as it is now.
Right.
But we all, like, that's the thing is, Stanley doesn't really watch his iPad at home. He's got like a tablet, which is for planes, trains, and cars.
Yeah.
Planes, trains, and automobiles. But at home he doesn't really have it because I want to sit and watch telly with him. Yeah. So that's why I don't want to watch the boring stuff. Like, I'm happy to watch Gruffalo, Room on the Broom, Zog, etc. But I like finding like the videos from when I was a kid on YouTube. Right. So like Barney in concert, Disney sing-along songs. And he's very into films. Yeah, so it's not like they say about a lot of the simulation is like a new episode, isn't it? So if the episodes are really short, then it's like a new thing.
Will you sit and watch a whole film?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, mine.
He's watched Home Alone quite a few times.
Amazing.
He calls it Home Blown.
Yeah, love that.
And I said to him, I give him context for everything, and I said to him, I was like, he said, Mummy, can we watch Home Blown again? And I said, yeah. I said, do you think I would ever forget you when I went on holiday? And he said, no, Mummy, you'd stay home alone with me and do all the crazy stuff. And I was like, yes, I'm a cool mum. Yeah. And like literally, but it's so we're watching these like things that I've always watched with him. So like when I was watching Home Alone the first time with him, when the mum comes back at the end, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, he's not home alone forever. When the mum comes back at the end, I was like watching Stanley watching it, and he just like really smiling. Like when the mum came back, and I was crying. Yeah. But yeah, so he loves a film, so that's fine. Yeah. But I will sit and watch it with him. Yeah. And I think like he had a sick bug the other day. And I was literally like, what do the screen-free parents do when their kids have a sick bug? Right. Like we have a Tony box, and we love the Tony box. Great. And if he wakes up before 8 a.m, then I am like, I'm going to put a Tony on for you. Because our day begins at 8 at the very earliest. I'll put a Tony on for you. But it doesn't happen very often. But he he does, and I also to go to bed. I do sometimes. I'm like, right, no telly tonight. We're gonna have a Tony instead.
Yeah, I do think like I say, it's a valid source of entertainment. I think people are often scared of sort of what's different or new, and because our parents had it less, suddenly it's the enemy. Like, read a book. Like, but when books first came out, people were very anti-book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It can be a valid source of entertainment. As long as it's done right. And there's a lot of wrong out there, don't get me wrong. But as long as you have like the right checks and balances in place, they're more educated now because they learn stuff. They have a better sense of humour because they understand things. They see people who don't look like them on screen, and so understand society and culture. And so I think there is a lot of good to be had. There's also a lot of negative, and I think people oversubscribe to them, and people will do it too much. And I think you can very much tell a child who has a lot of screen time compared to one who is sort of slightly more well-rounded. But they have a reason to exist, right?
I've said it on the podcast before, so apologies. It was a very long time ago. But I offset it. So I'm like, so the other day we went to the farm. We were at the farm all day, and we got home at 4:00.
Yeah.
I said to Sandy, what do you want to do when we get home? He's like, can we watch a film? And I'm like, we have been out in the great outdoors all day.
Yeah.
Of course we can go home and watch a film.
For sure.
And I'm like, I just try and offset it with like, right, okay, we've done that activity, so now we can watch this.
I will say, sometimes though, if I can have a kid on either side of me, and we've got something on, I don't really care what the show is. It's magic to have them both sit and settle and be calm and just one under each arm. It does mean I can't get my coffee because they're here. But having one under each arm is magic. And sometimes, if it's me or Sarah, we'll look at each other and go, that looks really good.
Yeah. Stanley's favourite thing is a floor bed in his bedroom. So
nice.
we've got the IKEA day bed, which was supposed to be for guests, but it's never been used for guests. It was when we used to do shifts when he was first born.
Sure.
We used to just like use that. But get the mattresses off of that and build a big floor bed and watch a film together.
Nice.
And that's like his favourite thing.
Yeah.
My one thing that he's not allowed is Cocomelon, and that's just because my best friend, who's a primary school teacher, before he was born, was like, can you just promise me one thing? That is no Cocomelon. So we've never done that. I say actually, we've never done that. I know Zool babies. Yeah. Because he's like, it's not Cocomelon. I'm like, it is. It's the same vibe. You're not watching it.
Or a pink thong.
Yes.
We get Margaret tries to watch that quite a lot. I'm like, I have sat there and watched it, and it is shocking.
Yeah.
And also, the songs don't even rhyme. It's just it's not even made very well. So out of principle, I'm like, no. But also, it's so highly stimulating that.
Apparently, what they do, I saw a thing. I read an article. I saw an Instagram reel that basically said that when they test the shows, they have a child watching it and they have a mum like doing the washing up or cooking or something.
Right.
And any time that the child looks over at the mum, they mark down the timestamp and they'll add more colours in, or they'll add like a flash of something, or they'll change the music.
Yeah.
To make sure that they're like glued to it. But my little boy is like the biggest wind up going. Like, he's 2.5. My friend said to me the other day, I've never met a child who understands comedy at 2 like him. And we had my mum's best friend's daughter babysitting when I was doing Love Island. And the next day I came downstairs and he like waited for me to turn the telly on. You know, like on Sky, it shows you the last thing she'd been watching.
Yeah.
Cocomelon was on there. And I was like, excuse me, what's that? And he was like, it wasn't me. He was like, I didn't put it on. He was like, Mads wanted to watch it. And I was like, did she? Did she? So I had to be like, hi everyone, just let you all know, because we have a lot of like it takes a village, but we've got a city of like babysitters. So it's like, just so everyone knows, we're in no Cocomelon or similar house. But he like really tries to pull one over. He's like, no, that's not Cocomelon, that's Zool babies. I'm like, it's the same thing, Stanley.
Do you know what though? I when they get to that point when they can start doing that, like it's so much fun. Mm-hmm. I know it does come with things like where they tell all porcupines and they try to get away with mischief and stuff, but that suddenly is like a real developmental milestone where they become like much more like in the room, much more present, like much more available for better conversation and little jokes and cheekiness, you know?
When he was like 18 months old, he used to say to my mum, Nanny, I've done a poo-poo. And she'd be like, okay. She'd lay him down, and he hadn't.
Right.
And she'd be like, you haven't, son. And he'd be like, ha, 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 ha.
See, Jessie does the opposite.
Now. Have you done a poo? No, don't check.
Yeah.
Don't check. Don't check.
Jessie will literally go, no, and then leg it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you definitely have then,
Oh, no, well,
haven't you?
someone has, and he's like, he points to a teddy, and he's like, they have.
It's
I'm
so
like, because I
funny.
can smell it.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, he's always been a bit of a wind up. But the thing is, my husband is very busy with work, so he can only talk about things that are happening in like the next 2 days at a maximum.
Sure.
But I don't need him anymore because I've got Stanley.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I can
yeah,
literally
yeah.
like with Stanley in the car, if I'm trying to keep him awake, I'm like, Stanley, we're going on this holiday, and I'll like explain everything. He's like, really, mummy, really?
Yeah.
And like literally, he's like my sounding board. I love it.
They are brilliant for that, actually. Just to have like conversations with, even though they haven't really got a full grasp of it all, just be able to like vent and like have chats with someone who isn't your partner, or isn't a camera. For me, you know, it's quite nice just to have a little person who is your pal to, you know, shoot the breeze with.
My mum's always like, he doesn't understand what you're saying.
So
and I'm
what?
like, yes, he does.
They understand
He does,
more,
yeah.
and also even if they don't, they will. And hearing you talk like that, even I quite like talking to mine. Not always I do baby talk, and I do kind of do the silliness.
I don't.
But I do often talk to them about their people.
Yeah. See, I do say we have a lot of fun. We do a lot of silliness, but I've always spoken to him the same tempo, the same voice that I
Right.
speak to my husband in.
Yeah.
And he's got quite like an adult vocabulary because he's sort of picked up everything
I
from
quite
all
like
of
that,
us.
Yeah.
He goes, right then,
Yeah.
what's the plan? That's the plan. And is that a deal? Is that a deal? And if
Is that a deal?
Is that a deal?
Margaret does that. Yeah.
And then he does. That is not a deal.
Yeah,
That's not a deal.
Margaret goes, that's not a deal I want to make.
Yeah.
Although the other day she walked in and found, because we're renovating a house, so all of our stuff is everywhere, and she found a Christmas decoration, and it was like a nutcracker.
Yeah.
And she went, what's that guy? And that's what I say if I'm like looking for something. Oh, what's that guy there? And, you know, I had never noticed that I said it, and Sarah went, that's you.
Yeah.
That's your child, like just mimicking like what you do.
Sandy's worst one is, oh my lord.
Yeah, could be worse.
Which is from my dad.
To be fair.
I just love this age, and I feel like I'm guessing when they get older it just gets better because Margot's 4.
I have to say it's magic. It really is, especially doing what we do for a living. We've got the time and the availability, and we've got like the resources to be there more. And like I am, but I say me and Sarah are our children's favourite people, and that doesn't come for free. You can't take that for granted. They come to us for, you know, if they've scraped their knee, but also they come to us for the fun and for the laughter and for like the cheekiness, and it gets so good.
Yeah.
And for you as well. So how old's Stanley?
So he's 2.5.
So you're going to have
So it'll be so my baby's due in March, and Stanley's also March, so there'll be 3 years.
3 years. So we're 22 months.
Yeah.
Difference, and that feels for the first like year, it feels like an eternity because you've got a wicked little sort of like post toddler, you know, preschooler, sort of toddling around like licking the plug sockets and just being crazy, and then you've got an infant who is actually incredibly boring because you're so used to like the craziness. They don't do anything yet, but whatever they need it urgently, and when that gap starts to get bridged, so now Margot's 4, Jesse's 2, they both can be part of the same conversation. And yes, Jesse doesn't quite get it in the same way, but Margot teaches him a lot of stuff, and we can now have the same fun together as opposed to almost having like parenting sort of separately.
Yeah.
And it is, I cannot tell you how much I love it. It's like my favourite thing. I've been in London for 3 days, and I can't wait this evening to get home.
Aww.
They'll be asleep by the time I get home, but like tomorrow I'm all theirs. And I just can't wait to squish them and like cause like trouble and, you know, just get up to mischief.
I know, it's just so good. We keep saying to Stanley about like, are you going to teach the baby this? Are you going to play the game to the baby like this? And I'm like, we probably need to like brief him that that's not going to be for a while. And then when the baby comes, it's going to be quite boring.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really going to do.
Also, you forget that that first chunk you do, I think, because your body tells you love this thing. Because actually, there's not a person on the planet you'd let treat you the way an infant treats you. They wake you up in the middle of the night. They suck you dry if you're breastfeeding. And it hurts and it's painful, and it's like it's really, really intense. But you love them unconditionally because sort of the biology is there and that sort of like connection's there. But when they start giving stuff, after about 6 months, when they give you that first smile, you go, oh, okay, this is new, this is interesting. And from that point on, it just amplifies. And then you kind of love them sort of more through choice. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see everything. I want to, like, be there for all of their firsts. And the world's so new to them still. And it's just delightful. But you definitely, when you've got 2 of them and one's a newborn, you definitely have the context of going, This one's bigger and fun.
Yeah.
Hurry up.
Yeah, because like everyone says to me, like, how are you feeling about going back to sleepless nights and stuff? And I'm like, well, Stanley set through from 7 weeks, so we're very lucky. But I love sitting up all night watching telly, so I'm just buzzing. I can't wait.
But it also flies by.
I know.
You look back at it in almost like a dream, and you're like, oh, I forgot they did that bit, and it kind of comes and goes so quickly that it was really important to live in it for anybody who's expecting. It's really important to like make the most, because it's gone before you know it, and until you have a second or a third or whatever, it doesn't come back again. But I think a lot of new parents dread it, and actually, I know from my experience, having done it twice, you kind of forget about that. It doesn't last very long.
And like lots of my friends say about when they're breastfeeding at night, like, I don't even look at my phone because that wakes me up too much and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. As soon as Stanley was awake, I was like, right, telly on. And I used to have, when I had Stanley, there was a reality show called Rise and Fall,
right?
Which was only one series. I loved it. And it used to be on at 10 o'clock every night, but I never used to watch it at 10 o'clock because he used to wake up at like 1 a.m. for a feed, so I used to save it. That was my 1 o'clock.
Yeah, fine.
So I used to be awake for like a full hour.
Right.
So I was watching that.
We got really good at like just sort of doing it half asleep. So Sarah would express for Margot. Jesse couldn't because he had reflux, had to be on special formula. But I was really conscious of making sure that she could get her rest too. Mm-hmm. So she would express as much as she could. So she would wake up and breastfeed one, and then on the alternate one I would then do the bottle, and that way we both got like some rest.
See, we used to do, my husband would sleep 10 till 3
right
downstairs in the nursery, and then he'd come up at 3,
right,
and then I would, because once I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock, so I would just move over to his side of the bed and sleep from 3 till 10 or go downstairs,
right.
Yes, we used to get like a good, I mean, I got longer than he did, but I'd given birth,
100%.
He used to sleep when he was like on shift from 3 till 10.
Sure.
He would sleep when Stanley slept as well. Yeah. Whereas I wouldn't. I would stay up all night watching telly until it was my time to go to sleep, because I just love staying up all night. And that's what I'm so excited for. I'm already like trying to plan what my This Is Us was my thing.
Right.
Last time. So I'm like, what's going to be my thing? I might do Desperate Housewives again. I'm not sure.
It's like, get something new.
I know. But I need something that's like 8 series.
Yeah.
Firefly Lane, maybe. I've heard it's very good.
Was it Sarah or my mum? One of them watched that, and every time I'd walk in the room, I'm like, this looks so up your street and so not up mine.
Yeah. We watched This Is Us together, and then when we were doing the shifts, I then was like, oh, I'll just watch one more episode.
Yeah,
one more episode. And then I got a bit braver and started doing it in the daytime, and Sam heard the voices, and he walked up the stairs, and I was like 2 series ahead of him. So I was like, it's fine, I don't mind watching them again. Like, I'm happy watching them again. But yeah, so I'm not doing anything in tandem this time. I'm choosing my own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because there's too much stuff to juggle with newborns, and also having another one already. You can't also be like organising diaries for for shows to watch.
But whenever we've done Married at First Sight together, and like literally took us like the whole series is 6 weeks. Yeah, I think it took us about 3 months to watch the whole thing, because we're like, one of us is out tonight.
You don't have time.
The other one's out tonight. Yeah. We need to go to bed. But we were saying to Stanley the other day when we were watching films on the sofa, like, when the baby comes, what films are you excited to show the baby? And we're like, that's good, because then we can like have the baby on the chest, Stanley next to me, and we can just sit and watch films.
I will say there is nothing like having a little newborn on your chest.
I know. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
They're just sort of small and like, and they the little snuffles they do, and they just flop onto you, and it's like they've never known anything other than your safety, and to just know that they are just so content and so like they haven't got a care in the world, they're just on daddy's chest. It's lovely.
I think everyone's like, when you have a baby, you've got to get out in the fresh air, go for a walk. I'm like, no. Put your pajamas on, put your dressing gown on, and sit on the sofa.
Yeah, but I think there's a place for both. I took Jesse out the day he was born.
Second child, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, I was tired. Like, Sarah had obviously just given birth, and she was just exhausted. And Sarah's mum had Margot, and I was like, I'm going to fall asleep if I don't go out. So I just took him in the cot, not the cot, the pushchair. Yeah. Just went for a stroll, got a coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love sitting on the sofa, rotting, and then having a shower at 9 and putting new pajamas on. Like, fresh.
Oh no, I can't do showers before bed. I'm a morning shower.
Yeah. I mean, like, what is morning, what is evening? It was just like that. That was when Sandy went to sleep. It was like amazing.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick chat about YouTube, because I can't have you here without it. What was it like being in that first wave of like the big guns?
I look back at it with nostalgia. I do, and I've made friends for life, because I think that because we were all part of that. Whatever happens now, it's never going to happen that way again. People are bigger. People are like, the numbers we had back then were at the time massive, but like by today's terms, miniature. But we were the first, and to do what we did was incredible. We did some really cool things, and it was a wonderful thing to be part of. But I look at it and think that I was always waiting for it to end. I was always waiting for whatever the next thing would be. I was always like anxious about what my next step would be, or how I was gonna make it last. I'm 15 years in, and I'm still doing. You know what I mean? Like,
but isn't that because everyone tells you? Because I mean, Love Island's slightly different, because obviously it's like a boom and then a slow trickle down. And when you come out, everyone's like, "You've got 6 months. You've got 6 months. You've got 6 months." You're like, "Oh God, oh God, oh God!" Like, is this the last job I'm ever going to have? So it is. You do have that anxiety.
No one was telling us that at the time, because it was new, and so there was no. Love Island's been going a long time, and you kind of see the pattern. There was no pattern for us, and so it was more in my own head, worrying about it. And also, I think that I was always the smallest of the big bunch. Not by much, but I always felt like I was slightly, if ever I wanted to collaborate with one of them, I'd always feel really awkward about asking. I don't think this is a them thing. I think it's very much a Jim thing, right? But I'd feel awkward about asking, because I was aware that of like the 5 or 6 of us, I was ever so slightly smaller. And I always felt like the tagger on.
It is hard, because I have people say to me all the time, "Oh, just ask this person if they do content with you. Just ask this person if they do your podcast and stuff." And when it's your friends, you do feel a bit like, "Oh, I don't want them to think that I'm just using them." And like, it is.
Yeah, I remember just looking back at it and feeling like it was a race, and it was going to come to an end at some point. And so I wish I had taken more stock of it, because my life changed quick. Prior to that, I didn't have anything. Like, I didn't come from, this world was not ever in the stars for me, right? And so my life changed pretty rapidly, and suddenly I was rubbing shoulders with like famous people, and I had like an audience of people who really gave a about what I talked about, and I was at fashion shows and modeling and doing all this really cool stuff. And I just remember thinking, okay, when's it going to end? How long have I got? What can I do? But actually, I was 22. I should have just been like going, whoa, And I think a lot of the others were. I don't know. I'm not in their heads, but the impression I got is that they were just living the moment. And I wish I did.
Yeah. You were saying about like where you came from before. It just popped into my head. Please tell your sisters that Real Techniques are my favourite brushes. I will buy no other beauty sponge.
Oh, really?
And I have all the brushes. I use them all the time.
They put so much time and effort into the actual production, and like, they really did it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a friend whose initials are RT. So I've like, she does shows. So I've a couple of times bought her like packs of Real Techniques brushes. It's like I've bought her like monogrammed makeup brushes.
Brilliant. Yeah.
She loves that. If you were going to start now, I know you said you're not the man to start now, but if you were going to start now, like, what would you do?
On social media?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough, because I think for me, my content is being Jim Chapman. Does that make sense? And I would struggle, I think. Like, I'm... If I do fashion, for example, I know what I'm talking about. I'm really clued up. I have done my research. I write for magazines. I'm kind of a professional, So it'd probably be something to do with like styling or something. But so does everybody else, Like, yeah, all right, I've got the credentials. But if I was starting fresh, I wouldn't have those credentials. So standing out in a really oversaturated market is hard to do unless you are really good at the hooks, or you're particularly, stunningly handsome, or your style is like a little bit unique. My style's really classic. And so if I was starting now, it would probably have to be something to do with style. But I don't know if I would be enough for people to commit.
Yeah, it's hard. I always think, I like, touch wood.
Yeah.
If my Instagram went tomorrow, I'd probably end up with like 5,000 followers on my new page.
A lot of the work I'm doing now actually is about being more robust.
Yeah.
A lot of what I'm doing with my team is about what not what comes next, is I don't want to stop doing this, but I want to make sure that if the internet were to break, or if my account got deleted by some, fluke, touch wood, I would be, there's enough of me elsewhere that I continue to work.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
What are your handles on all the platforms people can find you?
Jim Chapman everywhere.
He's just Jim Chapman,
just my
guys.
name. I got there really early doors.
Yeah. I have to be Amy Hart XO.
Yeah.
And there's an Amy Hart and her, she is like active on her accounts. I can't even be like, hey, please, can I have it? So I can't. But that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll be back next week with another fabulous guest. Don't forget to check out our social medias at Amy Hart's Mums Club on Instagram and TikTok, and at Amy Hart XO on Instagram for me. And I'll see you next time. Mwah.